Welcome to Walk With Me, episode 2. Today we'll be going through a piece called Unconditional Love. It's actually one of my favorite for two reasons. One being that it's kind of the piece that got me back into writing a lot. It's also the piece that it's about something that was always there, like always under my nose, but I just failed to notice it most of the time. Or you can even say took for granted, you know? So yes, it's one of those. But I have some work to get to. So I think we're just going to get into this piece, and for anyone that's not here, they'll have to catch it when we're done. I'm going to post this live on my Instagram for the rest of the night. Then from morning, I'm moving it over to my YouTube. So anyone who hasn't seen it by then will catch it on the YouTube channel. Yeah? All good. So I think I'm just going to dive right into it. So, unconditional love. It starts by saying, I can't seem to find something. My mother gave it to me. I don't know where she got it, but for as long as I've known her, she's always had it. And I can't find it anywhere else. Growing up, I thought all my friends had it. I guess the signs were always there. I thought all my relatives had it. But all it was here. Now, up to this point, I guess it's what I was saying about why I really like this piece, is that it's on a topic that's always been under my nose. We tend to take this love thing for granted, you know, especially the difference between a transactional relationship and actual unconditional love. Me loving you because you do something for me, or anything like that, or what happens when you stop, right? If that goes away, then it shows you then it was never really unconditional. So it's more about you loving a person for what they like, who they are in your life, and not what they do for you. So everything you do for somebody that you love is without expecting anything in return. And that's kind of where this was coming from. And me saying I couldn't find it anywhere else, it's from an observational point of view. It's from looking at other people's lives, not their relationship to me, but growing up taking what I had for granted. Because I think if anybody in this world taught me how to love, it's my mother. You know, she taught me unconditional love, and that's I don't know, I didn't know the difference. I thought that's what everyone was doing. I thought that's what everyone had. I thought we were all raised the same way, you know? And then you grow up and realize that that you meet people who have certain motives, or people who grew up on survival. And it's not really their fault. They've had to survive their whole life. So up to this point, meeting you, who's a person who grew up with different values, now there's a bit of a misunderstanding between the two of you. You feel like they're just not giving it their all, and they're not loving you how you love them. Whereas when they look at it, it's like, oh, okay, so if you're willing to give all of that, I'm willing to take all of that. But I'm in no way obligated to give it back. And that's just one of the things that happens. And that's something I saw in some of my family members. That's something I saw in some of my friends, and friends I'm talking from childhood to now. There's certain people who in their lives, they have those relationships with people they love, who be it family or friends or whatever, that is not truly unconditional. And it's really no one's fault. We were raised different. We each have our own values, own beliefs and all that. And you kind of go into any kind of relationship with your history, you know? But without getting carried away, I'll pick it up here. So from this point, I'm basically just continuing with what I saw my mother do, right? So I say, she never made it seem like hers was rare. She normalized prioritizing it to the extent that learning how to speak. Oh wait, she normalized prioritizing it to the extent that learning how to speak how it speaks became the only way I speak, and I held it really close to my heart, and I carried it with me everywhere I went. Like a pet, I grew up with it by my side, and even though I knew deep down it was never mine, I never mind. So, again, to that point, it's like now comes the internal conflict. Now comes this notion of, okay, how can I pour myself into everyone else this much when I can't seem to do it for myself? You know, it's a bit. That's where the confusion, the internal conflict, the internal confusion kind of comes in, and it's something I've had to deal with most of my life. Where it's like, you look at everybody else as an equal. When you love them unconditionally. But when it comes to you loving yourself unconditionally, you'd rather put the next person first. And that's kind of what I was dealing with at this point and trying to really address. And so I continue to say, I should have learned to carry it for myself before I gave it to the world. I should have learned to teach it before I can give it. I should have learned that you can't really get it from anyone that's never really lived with it. I should have learned that most people take before they give, and you can't only teach by giving. And that's another thing I think I addressed earlier, where I mentioned that you can't really expect somebody to love you unconditionally when they grew up different to you, or when they've never really experienced unconditional love. And again, that's not their fault. It's how how their life panned out, their experiences up to this point, up to the point of meeting you, who had a different path growing up to this point. Be it romantic relationships, be it friendships, be it your relationship with your family. It's the same thing. It's we say we have choices, but sometimes these things are circumstances, they kind of happen to you. So you don't choose to not be loved how you love. You can't really choose that. The best you can do is try to find somebody that loves how you love, but there's a process. It's a process of elimination. You're bound to bump into 3-4 people who can't give you what you want before you find the right one, or maybe even more people who just can't love you how you love them. And it touches on living in a world where you feel a bit misunderstood and stuff like that. So these are the reflections I was making at this point. These are the things I was mostly saying to myself at this point, funny enough, that instead of looking for it so much in the world, I should have gave it to myself. Because if you lead with love, you can recognize it in other people easier. You don't fall for the little things. So yes, I go on to say, I like to think of mine as a moon. I mean, sure, it's the brightest thing on your dark days. But if you look close enough, you'll see permanent footprints from the last people that walked it all over. Flags from when it was claimed as their own. Craters from the environment it grew up in. And an absence of one to itself. And a glow to remind me of its presence when it's eclipsed by greed, pain, terms, conditions. So I don't know. I think if you've listened to most of my pieces, I try to find a bit of closure to what I'm talking about by the end of the piece. It's not always easy. It doesn't always give you that, So for this piece in particular, it was more me just recognizing that I have to reflect it to myself. I have to, as much as I'm pouring out into the world, I have to pour into myself as well, because I think it's quite obvious that you can't pour from an empty cup. Everyone knows that. So in practice, it's harder than it is in theory, right? We say it all the time, we believe it, but to actually pick yourself up and carry yourself the same way you carry other people, it's not easy. It's easier to sacrifice most of yourself if you're that kind of person anyway. For some people it is. Don't get me wrong, for some people it is. But yeah, towards the end of this, I'm kind of just reflecting on what mind looks like and what it means to me, and sort of from this point try to build what I'm talking about, try to practice what I'm talking about, try to build habits that are just healthier for me going forward. And the beginning of this piece kind of touches on everyone else, but it's really a reflective piece for me. It's more about, it's a lot like the piece My Love, where in the piece My Love, I talk about what my love looks like in a romantic relationship. So with this one in particular, it's more self-love, I guess. It's titled Unconditional Love, but what does that look like in the context of just you know? So yeah, that's today's one is short. Today's one is short. I think I'll end it there. Get back to my coffee. If anyone again has questions or anything like that, feel free to share them here or on the comment section of any video that you see. I got one. When was it? After last week's episode, I was asked if I think this is, what's the word? What's this word that we use all the time? I'm blanking out, literally. Purpose. If I feel poetry is my purpose. And honestly, it depends on how you describe purpose, what you think your purpose looks like to you. Because for me, it's anything that sets my soul on fire. And this has to be one of them. It's not the only thing, but it's one of them. And I recently realized that I'm being selfish by holding most of these things back. It's my ability to write is a gift. And by writing, I do use it as therapy for myself, yes, but also I'm failing to recognize that there are other people that can't write like this and would need someone to translate how they feel. So it hit me when more and more people would say they relate to what I'm writing, and then I realized that no, it's not always about me. The part that's about me is the writing process, but me sharing these pieces stops being about me completely, and it becomes about me being the adapter. I'm the adapter to your spirit now. It's me trying to translate what's going on for you, if to the best of my ability anyway. Now, this is not me saying I know exactly how people feel. This is me saying, look, here's how I feel. So if you relate, just know you're not alone. And that's essentially where all this is going. All this is leading up to. And so now we're 2 episodes deep. And that's what it looks like now. So I'm planning on doing this for every piece that I've written and shared so far, and more pieces after that. So if you are not able to make it to a live recording of any of these pieces, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll see everything there. The link is in my bio. And I post snippets of those pieces here too. So sometimes if your attention span is a lot like mine, then you don't want to spend the whole day watching these things. If you watch it in bits and pieces, that's still fine. And just, hey man, the fact that you guys are here, the fact that some people relate to what I'm writing is more than enough for me. So I'm just glad I can be that, you know, for most people. Now, with all that said, without me I could talk all night. The people that know me, or I could just go on, but I won't. I just appreciate you guys for coming in. I'm gonna post this live if you haven't seen it, and yeah. So for the rest of the night, it's gonna be on my profile here. Why are you bullying me? The next piece. I haven't recorded any other pieces in a while, but I have been writing. I have been writing more than I usually do. So it's just a matter of me making time to record a piece and share it. But for now, you have all of these. You have all of these lives to catch up with. You have all of these extracts from each of these pieces to catch up with. And I'll see you next week.
So walk with me, talk with me, share my fears. Walk with me, talk with me, share my fears. Walk with me,